Hello, my name is Valeria. Today I would like to read to you Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza about how to lose your mind and create a new one. I have not finished this book yet, but I am finding it to be life-changing and inspiring for my growth as an individual. It also inspired me to want to share what I'm reading with the rest of the world. So if you're interested in quantum physics and figuring out a deeper relationship with yourself and creating new habits, or with life or the world, however you perceive your surroundings, your environment, if you're interested in any of that, then I feel like this is up your alley. So I plan to read the introduction up to part 1, The Science of You. The greatest habit you can ever break is the habit of being yourself. When I think about all the books on creating the life we desire, I realize that many of us are still looking for approaches that are grounded in sound scientific evidence, methods that truly work. But already, new research into the brain and body, the mind and consciousness, and a quantum leap in our understanding of physics is suggesting expanded possibilities on how to move toward what we innately know is our real potential. As a practicing chiropractor who runs a busy integrated health clinic, and as an educator in the fields of neuroscience, brain function, biology, and brain chemistry, I have been privileged to be at the forefront of some of this research, not just by studying the fields mentioned above, but also by observing the effects of this new science, once applied by common people like you and me. That's the moment when the possibilities of this new science become reality. As a consequence, I have witnessed some remarkable changes in individuals' health and quality of life when they truly change their minds. Over the last several years, I have had the opportunity to interview a host of people who overcame significant health conditions that were considered either terminal or permanent. Per the contemporary model of medicine, these recoveries were labeled spontaneous remissions. However, upon my extensive examination of their inner journeys, it became apparent to me that there was a strong element of mind involved, and their physical changes weren't so spontaneous after all. This discovery furthered my postgraduate studies in brain imaging,
neuroplasticity,
epigenetics, and psychoneuroimmunology. I simply figured that something had to be happening in the brain and body that could be zeroed in on and then replicated. In this book, I want to share some of what I learned along the way and show you. By exploring how mind and matter are interrelated, how you can apply these principles not only to your body but to any aspect of your life. Go beyond knowing to knowing how. Many readers of my first book, Evolve Your Brain, The Science of Changing Your Mind, voiced the same honest and heartfelt request, along with a fair amount of positive feedback, such as the person who wrote, "I really liked your book. I read it twice. It had lots of science and was very thorough and inspiring. But can you tell me how to do it? How do I evolve my brain?" In response, I began teaching a workshop series on the practical steps anyone can take to make changes at the level of mind and body that will lead to lasting results. Consequently, I have seen some people experience unexplainable healings, release old mental and emotional wounds, resolve so-called impossible difficulties, create new opportunities, and experience wonderful wealth. Just to name a few. You will meet some of those people in these pages. It's not necessary that you read my first book to digest the material in this one, but if you have been exposed to my work, I wrote Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself to serve as a practical how-to companion to evolve your brain. It is my earnest objective to make this new book simple and easy to understand, There will be times, though, that I will have to give you bits of knowledge to act as the forerunner to a concept I want to develop. The purpose is to build a realistic working model of personal transformation that will help you understand how we can change. Breaking the habit of being yourself is a product of one of my passions, a sincere effort to demystify the mystical so that every person understands that we have within our reach all we need to make significant changes in our lives. This is a time in history when not only do we want to know, but we want to know how. How do we apply and personalize both emerging scientific concepts and age-old wisdom to succeed at living a more enriched life? When you and I can connect the dots of what science is discovering about the nature of reality, and when we give ourselves permission to apply those principles in our day-to-day existence, then each of us becomes both a mystic and a scientist in our own life. I invite you to experiment with everything that you learn in this book and to objectively observe the results. What I mean is that if you make the effort to change your inner world of thoughts and feelings, your external environment should begin to give you feedback to show you that your mind has had an effect on your outer world. Why else would you do it? If you take intellectual information that you learn as a philosophy and then initiate that knowledge into your life by applying it enough times until you master it, you will ultimately move from being a philosopher to an initiate to a master. Stay tuned. There is sound scientific evidence that this is possible. I do ask you up front to keep an open mind so that we can build step by step the concepts I outline in this book. All of this information is for you to do something with. Otherwise, it's just good dinner conversation, isn't it? Once you can open your mind to the way things really are and let go of your conditioned beliefs with which you are accustomed to framing reality, you should see the fruits of your efforts. That is my wish for you. The information in these pages is there to inspire you to prove to yourself that you are a divine creator. We should never wait for science to give us permission to do the uncommon. If we do, then we are turning science into another religion. We should be brave enough to contemplate our lives, do what we thought was outside the box, and do it repeatedly. When we do that, we are on our way to a greater level of personal power. True empowerment comes when we start to look deeply at our beliefs. We may find their roots in the condition of religion, culture, society, education, family, the media, and even our genes, the latter being imprinted by sensory experiences of our current lives as well as untold generations. Then we weigh those old ideas against some new paradigms that may serve us better. Times are changing. As individuals awaken to a greater reality, we are part of a much larger sea of change. Our current systems and models of reality are breaking down, and it is time for something new to emerge. Across the board, our models for politics, economics, religion, science, education, medicine, and our relationship with the environment are all showing a different landscape than just 10 years ago. Letting go of the outmoded and embracing the new sounds easy, but as I pointed out in Evolve Your Brain, much of what we have learned and experienced has been incorporated into our biological self, and we wear it like a garment. But we also know that what is true today might not be true tomorrow. Just as we have come to question our perception of atoms as solid pieces of matter, reality and our interaction with it is a progression of ideas and beliefs. We also know that to leave the familiar life that we have grown accustomed to and waltz into something new is like a salmon swimming upstream. It takes effort, and frankly, it's uncomfortable. And to top it off, ridicule, marginalization, opposition,
denigration,
from those who cling to what they think they know greet us along the way. Who, with such an unconventional bent, is willing to meet such adversity in the name of some concept they cannot embrace with their senses, yet which is alive in their minds? How many times in history have individuals who who were considered heretics and fools, and thus took the abuse of the unexceptional, emerged as geniuses, saints, or masters. Will you dare to be an original? Change as a choice instead of a reaction. It seems that human nature is such that we balk at changing until things get really bad, and we're so uncomfortable that we can no longer go on with business as usual. That is as true for an individual as it is for a society. We wait for crisis, trauma, loss, disease, and tragedy before we get down to looking at who we are, what we are doing, how are we living, what are we feeling, and what we believe or know in order to embrace true change. Often, it takes a worst case scenario for us to begin making changes that support our health, relationships, career, family, and future. My message is, why wait? We can learn and change in a state of pain and suffering, or we can evolve in a state of joy and inspiration. Most embrace the former, to go with the latter. We just have to make up our minds that change will probably entail a bit of discomfort, some inconvenience, a break from a predictable routine, and a period of not knowing. Most of us are already familiar with the temporary discomfort of not knowing. We stumbled through our early efforts to read until the skill became second nature. When we first practiced the violin or the drums, our parents wished that they could send us to a soundproofed room. Pity the hapless patient who had his blood drawn by a medical student who has the requisite knowledge but still lacks the finesse that she will only gain through practice. Absorbing knowledge, knowing, and then gaining practical experience by applying what you learned until a particular skill became ingrained in you, knowing how, is probably how you acquired most of the abilities that now feel like a part of your being, knowingness. In much the same way, learning how to change your life involves knowledge and the application of that knowledge. That is why this book is divided into three overarching sections. Throughout parts 1 and 2, I will build ideas in sequence, forming a bigger and broader model of understanding for you to personalize. If some ideas seem repetitive, they are there to remind you about something that I don't want you to forget. Repetition reinforces the circuits in your brain and forms more neural connections so that in your weakest hour, you don't talk yourself out of greatness. When you ease into part 3 of the book with a sound knowledge base, you can experience for yourself the truth of what you learned earlier. Thank you for being a part of this. Anyone who's interested in figuring themselves out, figuring life out, you're not alone, and you can join me with these videos as you learn and embrace new knowledge, applying that knowledge for your well-being, for your new reality. You can join me on this journey as I unwind some habits or lots of habits that I am unaware of and reprogram them for habits that will shape my reality for the future that I desire. I hope you all have a great day and that you do something that you want to do today or tonight or tomorrow. Take the time to do something for you that makes you happy.